Hi guys, and welcome back to another IBRACORP video. Absolutely stoked to have you guys coming back and checking out the channel today. We have a really exciting video for you today, hopefully that you will enjoy just as much as we did getting it all together. Today we're going to be showing you how to get a tunnel working from your Unraid server out through Cloudflare and out to the world. There's so many benefits to this method, and just to give you a few, if you're someone that has ports 80 and 443 blocked, for example, you have double NAT going on, you might have ports exposed on your router, you want to have your origin IP always hidden, this is the video for you. And this basically ties in with our previous Cloudflare videos, as well as our Nginx proxy manager video as well. They all work hand in hand and they culminate to this point. Basically, if you've got all that set up and you want to tighten it all down, this is going to be one of the best options for you. Now guys, I did have some instructions on getting Plex to work via Cloudflare, but due to conflicting information, I actually don't want to be endorsing that because I don't want anybody to get their Cloudflare account disabled. So the only exception to our port situation where we don't want exposed ports, in this scenario, unfortunately, I can't say that we fully can have no ports open. And the reason is, at this point, I think the safest advice that I can publicly put out there is that you need to use Plex with a port open on your server so that you are not going via Cloudflare and having any issues with them. So I highly recommend that you do it that way. There are methods out there that people are using to use Cloudflare, but unfortunately I cannot recommend that because I don't want anybody to have any issues. So apologies for that one. It's also worth noting that this setup will not require you to make any major changes to existing infrastructure or containers. Basically everything will still go through your Nginx proxy manager or reverse proxy, whatever that might be that you're using. Obviously you'll need to make slight adjustments, and that's why I'm here today to put that together for you. Before we get started, I just want to give a big thank you to our community members and our community leaders for putting this together. We have Alios, Hawks and DiskDuck who have worked very hard to get all this content together for us this week. They've helped with the scripting and the writing of documentation, which is now up on the Git, and they've also created a template which is on the Unraid app store. So big thank you to them. Please remember to support your local developer, and if you like their work, be sure to buy them a beer or a coffee. So without further ado, let's just get stuck into it because we've been waiting all week for this and I'm really excited to get started with you. So let's do it. Alright guys, so you're interested in setting up a tunnel. Formerly this used to be called Argo tunnels until Cloudflare basically announced that they were allowing users to take advantage of their tunneling system for free. Now I'm going to quickly swing up a couple of benefits of using this for you up on the screen and why we want to use it. For one, portability. Because we're using a tunnel from our server, you could basically take your server anywhere around the world and you'll still have it all working perfectly fine once you plug it in. And the reason is we're not going to be pointing to any origin IP address. So that alone is huge because if you have a dynamic IP address from your ISP, we don't care anymore. That doesn't matter. We're going to be safe. The next is you'll be able to take advantage of Cloudflare CDN. Now, if you're already using our method, using our Cloudflare videos, you are taking advantage of that CDN functionality. So, you know, DDoS attacks and things like that. To add that, you won't have any open ports. If you're using everything via the tunnel, basically you don't have to expose any ports because nothing is going to be hitting those ports. Everything is going to be channeled through the tunnel. Now this is not going to make much sense, so what I'm going to do is bring up an image that Hawks has kindly put together for us, and it's going to make a little bit more sense, so let me switch to that. So here we are, here's our fantastic image here. This image has been created in Draw.io, which I've recommended before, and it's a really fantastic tool that is free and open source and is an alternative to something like Microsoft Visio. So again, thanks to Hawks for putting this together here, we have a working image with different layers. So that allows me to explain it to you a little bit easier. So what you're looking at now is a normal routing layout, basically. What most people probably have, especially if they followed our Cloudflare videos. And that includes myself. What you're looking at here is our Unraid environment or your server environment. You have your server. It's going through the applications via the reverse proxy out to your router. We have ports 1443 and 443 open, which is accepting our HTTPS requests. That's being passed along the entire route all the way here to our DNS server out in Cloudflare, where it's being served out to the edge. So all this would be considered our origin request up until this point here to the internet. Now, what we're going to be changing is adding our tunneling. So let's have a look at what that looks like. If I just untick normal routing and we tick Argo routing, gives us a better image of what to expect. So what you're looking at here is, instead of the reverse proxy just reaching out, it's actually going to hit our Cloudflare D, which I'm going to call Cloudflared for the rest of this video. It hits our Cloudflared daemon. That daemon is the tunnel, sends the communication out. It ignores any of this because it's going via tunnel. It's basically just communication. It doesn't need any particular ports. Cloudflared itself knows which ports it's accepting and where to send it to. That communicates with the reverse proxy. So on the reverse proxy, we don't have to really change anything. So that means you can keep all your proxying the same. So the only changes we're making are removing our port forwarding and adding the Cloudflare daemon to intercept traffic. So that goes right through the firewall, no problem, still in the tunnel. While it's in the tunnel, it hits the Argo service up on Cloudflare. Cloudflare then serves the content out to the world. As you can see here, we can now close ports 80 and 443 on our router or our firewall and block those requests coming in directly. So what does this give us? Well, we don't have any leaked IP address. We have no IP address showing at any point in the stage of operation. We have an SSL that will be at every stage of the process. The SSL will be applied both on the origin and on the edge. So if you followed our Cloudflare video and you've set up your origin certificate, perfect, because that's where this is going to come in. You're less likely to get a man-in-the-middle attack. That's because of the certs that we have, both the origin and edge, and also the tunnel directly to Cloudflare. Because basically, it makes it very difficult for someone to intercept that traffic now. Again, we're going to be bypassing double NAT issues, and it's almost impossible to find the origin of the server because no IP is ever shared publicly. It's all hidden in the tunnel and is served out by Cloudflare from their own IP addresses. Another added benefit of this, of course, is improved latency. Because it uses Cloudflare's smart routing, it avoids congested areas of the internet. Now, if I just apply our congestion traffic here, you can see all this traffic that has to bounce around and starts getting congested, especially if you're going directly from your server. Guys, depending on where you are in the world, you may not have the best internet. Someone on the other side probably isn't going to get the best experience. Now, not in all cases you're even going to be going to that length to have it working 100% on the other side of the world. You know, in those cases, a VPS might be more for you. But in our scenario, we're home users or we're home labbers and we want to access stuff remotely, but we want it to be secure. This is going to be the best way. Because it's going to be served by Cloudflare, we don't have to worry about it coming directly from our setup per se. Everything gets sent through the tunnel, and then Cloudflare can handle the caching and send stuff out from there, which can speed up things quite a bit. So that's pretty much the explanation and, you know, pretty much an overview image of how it all works. And I hope that makes a little bit more sense. I'll just flick back to the normal routing for you, and you can see all the routing that we're having to avoid here. Okay, we're basically avoiding having to go anywhere near this sort of setup anymore. And being able to close all your ports, I mean, that's amazing. One of my follow-up videos in the next few weeks will be a review on the UDM Pro. And the one thing that I've started noticing with threat management is the amount of hits on ports 80 and 443. People trying to intercept traffic or trying to gain administrator privileges. You can avoid all of that basically because they don't have to hit your server at all anymore. Everything is going directly to Cloudflare, and Cloudflare can deal with it and mitigate it the way they need to. So with that all done and said, we've explained how this all works. Let's just show you how to get it working, and let's get started making it happen. Now, as I said, thanks to our community members, Alios and Hawkins, we have instructions that have been written up and the template up on the CA store. To get to the instructions, it's just github.com/Alios/Cloudflared. As you can see, he's written up our instructions here. The guys have worked really hard to get this up for you. So this is what we're going to be following today. I'm going to be following it off screen just to make it easier for you watching the video. So you can basically follow me if you want, but if you like as well, I'll have the link down in the description for this documentation. So please support the developer, give him a star, give him a follow, whatever it takes. Buy him a coffee. We all like to make sure we support each other in this community. And look, he's bringing us all this information that I didn't know about before, so I like to give credit where it's due. Okay, so with the guide out of the way and we're ready to go, we can start on our tunneling. Send yourself over to your Unraid server. As you can see here, our old faithful Pumbaa is back in action as usual. The first thing we're going to do is some setup steps. So in the documentation, step 1, we need to run a command in the terminal. So in the top right here, you'll see terminal. Let's just click that. In the terminal, we're going to paste this command. Okay, so we've run it. It's printed our link. Go ahead and click the link now. Now it's opened up in a separate tab, which I've just pulled over for you. Go ahead and click the site that you want to go through the link. So this one over here. We want to authorize that to go through Argo Tunnel. You will notice that I am already logged into Cloudflare. So I did that before we started the video, but it may ask you to log in first. And if it does and doesn't send you to this screen, after you log in, just close it and click the link again in the terminal window and you'll get this. So we're going to go ahead and authorize it. We'll click authorize. Success. It is now installed a certificate allowing your origin to create an Argo tunnel on this zone. You may now close this window and start your Argo tunnel. So we'll go ahead and close that. And as you can see back in the terminal window, it says you have successfully logged in. If you wish to copy your credentials, they have been saved to blah, blah, blah. So first step complete. No problems there. Now we need to create a tunnel. To do this, we'll run another command from the Unraid terminal. So I'm copying this from the guide and I'm going to make a small change. So what I'm going to do is bring over Notepad++ here. So here's Notepad++. I'm going to paste the command in and we're just going to have a quick read of what it's doing. And I'll just zoom in for those mobile users to make it a bit easier for you. So we've got docker run -it -rm-v, and it's going to our app data folder, which we haven't created yet, which is what this is going to be doing. Tunnel create, and then the tunnel name. So for the tunnel name, I'm just going to change that to IBRACORP org. Then we're going to copy this and go back to our terminal window. So while we've got the terminal here, we will right click and go paste. Once you've pasted it, go ahead and click enter. And we've created a tunnel. Now what that's just done is create a .json file, which contains a secret used to authenticate our tunneled connection with Cloudflare. So right after where it says with ID, that's our UUID. All right, it's a unique identifier. So we're gonna right click and go copy. And just in a notepad somewhere, just keep that there for future use because we're gonna need to come back to it. Now that that's done, in the terminal, the next command we're going to put in is a nano command so that we can edit the file. Now you can do this on your local file server if you prefer, something like Notepad++ and opening it up in Windows Explorer, but you can also do it right here in the terminal. So just to show you what I typed, I basically typed nano/mnt/user app data cloudflared /config.yaml. After I pasted that in, it then opened up this nano screen. So nano is basically just a text editor. So in here is where we need to put all of our config. Now I'm going to show you the config that I use. So in the config, we're going to go ahead and click paste. And this is also in the guide, guys, but this is my one just to show you what it looked like once I finish setting it up. So as you can see, we've got tunnel credentials file, the ingress, which is going to be our reverse proxy, and the origin server name. So we're going to make some changes here. If we go back to our Notepad++, this is our UUID. So we're going to need to copy that and head back to this terminal here with nano open. And we need to update a few things. So in the tunnel here, we need to make sure that we've got the right tunnel name. Right next to tunnel, go ahead and click paste. That's our UUID. So we've put that there. We also need to rename the JSON file that it's trying to reference. So as you can see, this is actually my old file. So it's referencing the old tunnel ID. So we need to make sure it's the most recent one that we just created. So I've gone ahead and added that. I can see it matches there as well. So those first two are basically the same. For the ingress, this is where you're going to be forwarding it to your reverse proxy. So if you're using NPM like I am, we'll go to Docker here and we'll start up Nginx Proxy Manager so that it's ready to go for us. And what I'll do is I'll even start a couple of other apps just so that we've got some stuff to test with. So as you can see, our port for Nginx Proxy Manager on HTTPS is 18443. We want as much communication as we can going through SSL. So we're only going to allow SSL. So as you can see, that IP address matches our reverse proxy for Nginx Proxy Manager. Be sure there's no trailing slash. We've just got the IP address followed by the port number. If, however, all your apps are on the same custom Docker network, then what you can do is just put the name of the container. So in this case, you could put, for example, you could just put npm if your container was called npm, or in my case, it's called Nginx Proxy Manager. I'm going to put the IP address here just because that's what shows up as default. In your origin request and your origin server name, it is your root domain. So make sure you put your root domain in there. Yours could be domain.com, etc., etc. Under here is a rule if you wanted to forward any HTTP traffic. If you did, this is how you would do it. Just make sure that you update all the relevant information. So this doesn't need to be here, that was put in by mistake. But yeah, if you wanted HTTP, this is how you would do it. Just add that underneath. Now I don't recommend that personally, but each to their own. So once you've done all that, we're just gonna go ahead and click Control-O, and that writes all of our changes. It's gonna ask you to confirm the name and then go ahead and click Enter. And it says down the bottom here, wrote 12 lines. So we've just saved that file. Just for those that might be confused, if you go to the server through your Windows Explorer, for example, as you can see here, app data, we've got our Cloudflared. Here's the file that we created. Here's the YAML file that we also created. If I open that up, that's what's showing in our terminal. So all we've done is just do it through the terminal instead of trying to do it through the file explorer. So either option works, it doesn't matter. Now there are a lot more commands and things you can put into this file if you wanted to, so I suggest you have a read of those in the guide on Git, which links to a lot of ingress rules that are supported by Cloudflare. So that might help you customize your setup a little bit better. But for the average user that someone like us who just wants to set it up with HTTPS and that's it, this is the way to do it. So with that done, guys, that's pretty much that part complete. So all we need to do now is get the app on the CA store. So let's go to apps here in Unraid. And as you can see, it's already at the top because Alios just released it recently. Otherwise, you might have to search it, Cloudflared, and it's by Alios's repository. Go ahead and click to install. So mine starts off in advanced. If yours does not start off in advanced, you might start like this. Just make sure you click to advance in the top right here. Have a read through, you'll see a couple of things, and we've got post arguments, tunnel run, UUID. So back in our Notepad++, we're going to copy our UUID, which we got earlier, and we're going to paste it right here and replace this. Once we've done that, we're going to set the network type to be our custom Docker network. That's just personal preference. I highly recommend that you have them all on a custom Docker network. So have them all on the same network if you can. Just makes it a bit easier, and you can also reference them to each other as well using a host name. With that done, we should be able to just start it up. So go ahead and click apply. I'll also add, if you go back into the template, just make sure that this is referencing your app data location where we did all that work earlier. It should by default thanks to the template, but if not, just some extra thing to check. We'll go to the Docker tab, left click it and go to logs. Now the first thing you'll notice is we have an outdated version. That's what the log's telling us, right? But the connections are still established. So what I actually recommend you do is we're gonna set a specific version that's latest as of this video. So I'll show you how to do that. We'll close this, head back to our Cloudflared Docker container. We'll go into the template, go to the repository field here, and on the right hand side, put in a semicolon followed by the version. Now, as of making this video, this is the latest version, 2021.5.10-AMD64. If you don't know what it is and you want to get the latest version, you can always just go to the Docker Hub page, which is right there. So we'll go to that. And if we go to tags, here you can see what the tag is. So basically you can take any version you want. And now that will also mean that it won't upgrade further than that version. So it's important to remember to come back at a later point if you like and make sure you've got the latest. If you don't specify a version, it should technically pull the latest for us. The issue though is with this one, unfortunately, it keeps trying to pull a previous version, which might be considered the stable one, but it's actually not. So this one I've found a lot more stable and works really well. So we're going to use this version here. Once we're done, go ahead and click apply. And so what it's going to do now is it's going to pull the latest version that we've specified and replace the one that we've already had. Then we'll left click and go to logs again. Now what you're looking at here are clean logs. This looks good. This is exactly what we want to see. So we're happy with that. But it doesn't end there. We've got one more step to get this fully working, and that is all. So the next thing you need to do is head over to your Cloudflare account. So we're here in Cloudflare, go to your DNS settings, and under IBRACORP.org here, for example, that's our root domain. So your root domain is obviously going to be different. So again, like I mentioned before, we don't have to worry about Dynamic DNS anymore, which means we don't need to know what the specific IP address is. So all we need to do in this case is paste the following. We're going to take our UUID, we're going to paste that there, and then we're going to add CF for Cloudflare, Argo Tunnel.com. So it should be your UUID.cfargotunnel.com. Once you've got that, go ahead and click save. So what we're doing there is we're telling Cloudflare where to find the site, and the site is at that tunnel address. So like I said, you can basically take your server to the other side of the globe, have a completely different IP address, doesn't matter. It's going by your tunnel now. Obviously we have it proxied, and then for all your other CNAMEs, all you have to do is point it to your root. Okay, so the workflow is IBRACORP.org is found here. All of these subdomains are found at IBRACORP. Pretty simple, and make sure they're all proxied as well. Now, that is pretty much it, guys. That is how we got the tunnel working, and it's now running. So to test it, we're gonna go to a website now. So just note also that we haven't had to make any changes in Nginx Proxy Manager. So let's try and hit a website that I've set up in Nginx Proxy Manager. So in Nginx Proxy Manager for IBRACORP.org at the moment, I've just got it pointing to Sonar. So let's go to IBRACORP.org. There you go. So I've put in IBRACORP.org and it's sent us straight to Sonar, and I'll prove to you why this is working. Previously, if I wanted to do this sort of stuff while I was recording a video for you guys, I would have to change the port forwards on my router to send 80 and 443 to my test server, which would basically take all my other stuff offline while I did a video. Right now, this is going via the tunnel. So there's nothing that I have to change on the router anymore. It's basically adaptive. And since you can have separate tunnels, you can basically have separate sites, separate things going through, and not have to worry about making any changes on your router. Now, just to prove again, I'll go with a subdomain as well. And for this one, I have reactive resume running on the test server. So I've been able to test using a subdomain, resume.ibracorp.org. You can see all of our certificates are valid. If we open it up, that's our Edge certificate there. And because in Cloudflare we have full strict settings, basically the whole way through is secure. Now, if you haven't watched my Cloudflare videos, those are still beneficial and you need to have the basics set up before you can go into the tunnel. So I recommend you check those out. That is it. You've got the tunnel. It's working, all good. I'm going to show you a couple more things that might be of assistance to you. So a couple of disclaimers here. If you wanted to get rid of your tunnel, you would need to run a couple of commands. So let's say you've got your tunnel, but you don't want it anymore. You just want to get rid of it, or you want to see what's available. Open up the terminal and we're going to paste this in here. Okay, we've got a thing that's going to list all of our tunnels that we're running. So with this command, it's going to list all the tunnels that we have and the connections that they have. So you cannot have two tunnels with the same name. You need to give them a new name if you create a new one. Let's say we want to remove the old one. Now see this one here, I did that yesterday while I was testing. I don't want that anymore. So what I'm going to do is get rid of it. So to delete that and revoke it, we need to clearly identify it as one that we want to change. So copy the ID. I'll drop that there. I'll grab this ID again. And as you can see, here's the command here in front of you. I'll change this part here. We'll copy that, head back to our terminal window, and I'll paste it in here. So what we've done there is get rid of that tunnel. So we've revoked it. So if you wanted to reuse that name, you have to revoke it first. Also worth noting that deleting the tunnel also invalidates the credentials file associated with the tunnel, meaning those connections cannot be re-established. So you have to set up a new one and have a new credentials file. But that's pretty much done, guys. We now have a working tunnel. It's working perfectly fine. We've got the logs here, and that's a clean set of logs. If you look at that, you can see there's no errors. We've got no issues. Everything's running beautifully. Always worth noting that the UUID is private. Make sure you do not share that out to anywhere, and make sure that you keep your credentials file safe. With that in hand, we've now basically set up a tunnel with Cloudflare. Everything is heading out through there. Everything is secure. How easy was that? And it's only that easy because of all the help that we've got in the community on our Discord server. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was so exciting. I really couldn't wait to get this video out there because I think it's a very important topic, and for something that can address so many different issues that people have, especially those bully ISPs that really try and tell you to F off basically for having, you're wanting to use your ports 80 and 443. I mean, this basically tells them where to go and lets you have everything you want run the way you like it and going out through Cloudflare. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't thank Cloudflare for their amazing service. They offer so much for free, which you got to really give them credit, guys. So big thank you to Cloudflare. Hopefully one day maybe they want me to work with them on something in specific. And another big thank you to our Discord community, Hawks, Alios, DiskDuck, the rest of our community members who keep pitching in all these great ideas and working together to come up with something really, really cool. I really, really thank you all for that. Also be doing a collaboration with Awesome Open Source in the next few weeks, maybe a little bit longer. Keep an eye out on his channel. I've got it featured on mine. He's also put one out recently that I helped him with too. And I really can't wait to get into the next video. If you like this video, guys, give me a big thumbs up, please, and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. And congratulations to us on 3,000 subs. Thank you for everyone who has helped support us. And I hope you enjoyed today's video. We'll see you in the next IBRACORP video.